Okay, early morning consciousness chats. So I saw something the other day, a couple of days ago. I can't tell you where it is. It's on YouTube somewhere. You know, I never remember. But they were talking about, or they mentioned, and I'm looking at the moon. If I could try to show you. I think I have to turn the camera to do that. Try to show you. We'll see if we saw it. Anyway, and I've heard this before, but sometimes things come back to me. So they say our eyes are not really what we see with. There's like a, it's going to sound weird. I want to say it's like a video screen in your head where you're only shown things through your eyes. And so basically that's kind of saying that everything we see and feel and everything in this outer world is not really what's really there. It's just what we're being projected. And then apparently this projection is like a hive mind projection where we basically agree to what is being shown by interacting with it. So, if you don't want to see what is in your outer realm, you just say, I don't like this, and start doing things to change it. That's something else I saw. And it's kind of interesting. I know it's really very woo-woo. A lot of people don't want to think that much about it. I know it helps to distract me a little bit. But again, it's something I keep coming back to. That we live in our head. I always say we live in our head. And we live in our head. We live in our head. I mean, it's like this little... Oh my goodness, sorry. What is today? Yeah. So, yeah, so the idea of living in your head actually goes back to what's being projected into your eyes, out your eyes. And that first video that I mentioned a while back, the history of mankind, it kind of talks, or it actually kind of goes into how it all was put together, like our whole mind-body system, which is kind of cool. Whether or not it's the absolute truth, I don't know, but just to think that someone would go to those thought processes and have any kind of knowledge of how our earth suit was created, which is the body. The body was cool to me. I mean, I'm like, whether or not it's true, it's a really good, interesting example of how it could have happened, you know. And they talk a little about, you know, the body being kind of a literal earth suit for these dimensional beings. And they like would go in and basically try them on to see how they were working. And but they couldn't, you know, they could see it wasn't working the way it should work. And then they, you know, would tweak it and so that's kind of part of some of where my thoughts have come from. But, you know, again, it's so much information that seemed very specific. That's kind of like, well, it has to have some part of truth in it. You know, it's just very interesting. And there's a saying that they have said, it's called, when that they were in the body, they were calling it the space that we are in. The space that we are in. Like, earlier, before I talked about that we live in the space between, the spaces between spaces. The spaces we can't see. I mean, we can see space, but we live in between spaces because there's so much going on around us that we don't see, that we literally live between spaces. And that would actually go back to the fact that we are only seeing what's being projected to us to see, because there's so much activity otherwise that we would not be able to function if we saw it all. And the different dimensions of things that are happening in different, realms of things that are going on around us. And this reminds me of the biblical verse, we are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses, and we are never alone. If any of that thing is true, it's the 3D body helps us to stay grounded in this dimension. So, there's no reason for us to be afraid. There's no reason for us to be concerned about not existing, because all of existence is always with us. We are now. We're always. The only thing that can happen to us is we'll end up in a different realm or a different dimension, a different, timeline. Why are we so afraid to live? I'll be back in a second.